Well, good morning and welcome to our webinar today. We are going to be talking about activating member engagement on your website with Church360 Unite. My name is Peter Frank and I am the Senior Marketing Manager at Concordia Technology Solutions. There we go. Let me make sure that we've got everything showing. Good, you can see my contact information there. My email address is probably the best way to reach me, as I'm not often in my office like I am today. But you can also call my office phone and leave a voicemail. I've been with the CTS group for 5 years now, which is kind of crazy how quickly that's gone. But I've been with the publishing house here at Concordia Publishing House for about 10 years. And today I am honored to be joined by Stephen Jenkins. Stephen is our software consultant. How are you doing today, Stephen?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Thanks for joining me. This is Stephen's first official webinar, although he has hosted many, many one-on-one sessions with congregations, so he's well-versed with Church360 Unite and all the products that we offer here. So I'm glad to have you join me today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do here at CTS?
Yes, I am a software consultant here at Concordia Technology Solutions and been with the group about 2.5 years. And as Peter mentioned, I am well-versed with conducting live training, not training webinars, but actually product demos of the Church360 suite. So very excited to jump in today and help you with this training webinar with Concordia Technology Solutions and Church360 Unite.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're here, and you'll see Stephen more in the future as we get more and more opportunities to share our software with you here, our attendees. So a few housekeeping items before we begin. Sure, there we go. Okay, so first off, we will be doing about 50 minutes of presentation. Now, if this is anything like my most recent webinars and training sessions, we'll probably go a little bit over, but I leave about 10 minutes for question and answers at the end. Now, I will ask that you ask questions throughout, and we won't necessarily answer them as we go. If they fall in line with our outline, we'll take advantage of it at that time. Otherwise, we'll make sure to answer it in those last 10 minutes. Depending on how many questions are in the queue, that'll let me know whether we're going too far over the 50 minutes or if I need to really hold and protect that 10 minutes. So please go ahead and ask as we go, but I really do want to make sure that we end at an hour because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we will be recording this, and we are recording this. If you're one of those who are watching us after the fact on our YouTube channel, welcome. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who are attending live, we'll send out a link later on today or early tomorrow at the latest so that if you need to watch another piece of it or a section of this or share it with somebody else at your congregation, you can do so. So before we get into the presentation materials, I always like to start off with this picture from our history. So this here is the Concordia Publishing House booth at the 1904 World's Fair. Now, Concordia Publishing House has been around since 1869, which means at this time we're about 35 years old. And I like to show this because even at the beginning, back in 1869, our motto was from 1 Peter, the word of the Lord remains forever. And this is really important, especially as we get into talking about Church360 Unite today, because while the message has remained the same, the communication methods have changed. To say that in reverse, as technology has changed, the one thing that we continue to do is share the gospel. And here at the publishing house, we support you in your efforts to do that through the different products and services we provide. And one of those ways is through software. Now, we have been developing software for congregations since 1984, which when you think about like the rise of Windows in the 1990s, 1984 is a long time ago. We had DOS-based programs back then. And so what we're going to be talking about today is just the next iteration of that. A little bit of clarification. We mentioned Concordia Technology Solutions. We are part of Concordia Technology Solutions, which is just the church administration division of Concordia Publishing House. So when you hear those two names, they're one and the same. We just generally like to talk about technology as we're talking about our software and keep that clear. So let's talk about web design a little bit. So I'm going to make a statement here. Church web design can be easy. Oops. There we go. My computer's running a little bit slow. So I say that, and I'm sure there are a number of people who are thinking, yeah, right, church web design is not easy. Well, church web design can be easy if your only goal is to simply have a church website. Now, if your only goal is to have a website, yeah, it's going a little slow. Sorry about that. If your only goal is to have a website, then you are missing out on opportunities to not only engage your community, you're missing out on opportunities to improve your communication, and what we're going to focus on today, missing opportunities to connect with your members. So obviously you are here because your only goal is not just to have a website, but you're hoping to connect with your members, and that's where Church360 Unite comes in. So it's an all-in-one website builder that gives you the tools to unite your online communications. And we talk about Unite for that very reason. So online communications are many and varied, but a few things we'll focus on today. First off, it is your church website. That's first and primary when it comes to online communications. Next, it's your blog. And many churches don't have a blog. We'll talk about what that means, syndicated content. It also can be your member hub, and that's the key for today as we talk about activating your members. But included with that, and this, as you have people participate in your website, there's file sharing, there's the master church calendar, there's mass emailing. So what Church360 Unite does, it is actually unites all of those different things into one online platform. So as we get into that, a few things with our webinar outline. First, we're going to talk about how to set up a church website just from scratch. Then we're going to explore all the different areas of Church360 Unite, and we're going to touch on everything. In some cases, we won't go in great detail, but you'll at least get to see the breadth of features offered. And then we're going to get into our question and answers at the very end. But as we're talking, one thing I'd like you to focus on is how can I use Church360 Unite to support my ministry? We know that ministry isn't done with software, but software supports what you're doing as you're engaging people. So as we get started, I'm going to go ahead and turn off our webcam so that we can focus specifically on the software itself. And I'm going to shift over here into a little bit more comfortable position as we present. But let me go ahead and open up Church360 Unite. There we go. And you'll see here that we've got Light of Christ Lutheran Church, and I'm hoping that you can see that okay. One thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and that way you can see it a bit better. Now this is, it looks like the site's already set up. This is our training site, and I'm going to go through that process of how you get to this point, but it actually only takes a few seconds to get here, short of the pictures, which we'll talk about in a bit. But as you log into Church360 Unite after you've started a trial or signed up, it'll walk you through setting up a theme, and that's one of the first things that you'll pick is what does the overall site look like. Now within here, up at this top black bar, that's your administrator toolbar, and themes is one of those options. This is only available to administrators, but as we get into roles, we'll explain who needs to be in that role. So we've got a number of different themes. I think it's 12 themes total that we have. The one we're going to work with today is called Material, and this is based off of Google's Material Design. It's a very commonly used design style, and it's a nice clean one. That's why I like using it for webinars, because it's easily viewed. So, but there's a number of different options, and as you click in here, you can see what those options are. So like light is a popular one, and I know these are tiny little images there. If you click and hold, it'll generate a preview for you, and you can see in more detail what that looks like. Now these boxes on the white background are your themes. The presets are based off of that theme but are different styles of that theme. And you can see that even though that looks similar to it, the color palette is very different. The background images are different. So within Material, it's basically just revolves around the type of colors you want to use. And I've already got this set up to green. One of my more popular ones is the blue one here. But we're going to go with green here, and all you have to do is just hit Apply Theme. Here, I'll pick a different one to show you how quickly you can change it. So, oops, exit out of there. So if I go red and I want to switch over into the green, I just go back to Themes, hit Apply, and now it has been changed. And I close out, And there we go. So it's real easy to get into the different themes. Stephen, what have you seen as some of the more popular ones, or ones that really resonate with your customers as you talk to them?
Well, definitely the one that we're on right now, but as well, we have the urban theme, and
Oops, there we go.
yes, that's a more popular one.
And that's, again, a nice clean look. You'll notice the theme is a trend as we talk about these, that clean is always better.
Yes. And another one that's one that's really used by a lot of individuals is the ribbon theme.
Yes, this was with us as we began, and it's flexible because you've got a number of different color options there, but you also have the ability to put a banner at the top. So.
Yes. And another thing to point out that's very important is all of the different themes are all mobile responsive, so no matter what device you're using, the screen will adjust so that you see all of the information.
And that is really nice. We'll look at that in a little bit as we get onto pages, exactly how you can test out what it looks like on a mobile device. But thanks for bringing that up. That is so important today. You know, more and more people are using their phones more than their desktop. And I think actually web browsing has officially switched to be primarily mobile. I think it's like 51, 52% of website visits are now done on a mobile device. And those stats may even be a few months old. It's just changing so fast. Well, very good. So as you get into the themes, you pick which presets you like, you get your color palette, but maybe you want to tweak it a little bit. Well, under Styles here is, under Customize is where you can change your theme colors. And there's, each theme will vary what you can change in that, but you'll have these little boxes where you can put your exact colors. If your church has a logo or a style guide, you can do that. Or if you want to just choose what looks good, you can do that as well. Now, some of them will allow you to put a banner or a logo up, and you can do that by hitting Browse and then Upload. We're going to look at that in a little while later with how to upload an image on the main page. So we're going to stick with this where it's just text. And there's a lot of good advantages to doing that from a search engine standpoint, that it's easier for search engines to tell what it is when it's text. But that's a whole different discussion. Within where I started to go with Styles, Styles allows you to change the color palette and font families of your actual copy, your content within that. And each theme will come with a unique set of styles here, but you can always add more. So you can see there's the heading 1 and the heading 2. Maybe you want this heading 1 to be a bit more bold, and so you could go here and pick semi-bold, and then all of those that are used, all of the copy that's using that header 1 will be that same style. So you can manipulate all of that from here, as well as adding additional ones. So we can have a lot of fun with that. We're going to continue to move on because we're limited in time today. But I do want to also point out that underneath Advanced and Edit, you have the opportunity to add your own code. Now, if you know what you're doing, you'll know exactly what to do in these places with custom headers, custom scripts. You can see we've done a little bit of testing on here in this theme before. That doesn't really affect anything on the site except exactly what it's supposed to do. But if you're not a web programmer, which I'm assuming most of you are not, you don't have to worry about this. This is just to give you that flexibility. If you have someone in your congregation who does know what they're doing and can jump in here and tweak it to their heart's content, but we know not every church is blessed with those individuals. So we want to make sure you have full access to the code, full transparency there so that we're not dictating these things, but we also want to kind of put it in the background so you don't have to use it. I'm going to touch on settings briefly. There's a number of different options in here, like on this first tab. This is where you can put in your church information that gets applied to every footer on the site. And we're going to look at calendars later on and what that means from a master settings perspective. But a few things to just highlight quickly. The domain, which is your website URL, www.mychurch.org, whatever you have right now, if you do have one, can be transferred over. So if you're switching to Unite from another provider, you don't have to switch your address. We can work with you to have that convert over. So, or if you know what you're doing, you can easily do that here yourself. From an analytics standpoint, seeing who's coming to your site, what they're doing on there, we offer a quick integration with Google Analytics, which is the top platform for website analytics. And so the instructions are on there as well. That's a one-time setup. Once you put it in there, then you can just use analytics to track all of your statistics and such. And then lastly, integration here, which allows you to integrate with Shepherd Staff, one of our church management software. If you are a user of Church360 members, one of the other products in this suite, that integration occurs automatically. So we'll touch on that a little bit more as we go through here, but just know that if you are a Shepherd Staff user, there's a few additional setup pieces here, but then you can integrate that as well. Okay, so enough of the setup. That we could go into more detail on that, but we really want to get into how to activate your members. So one of the first ways to activate is to have an engaging website where there's content on here that people will want to interact with. And there's two sides to our site. There is the public-facing side and the private-facing side. I'll show you what I mean by that. If we go up here into Pages, and see, we're already starting to build out our site. On the left-hand side is the navigation, the active menu items. These items here are what shows up in the navigation over here. So Home, About Us, Worship Times. All of that is part of the actual navigation. And within there, you can have different statuses on those pages. So you see here, here's a home page. Maybe a little hard to see that icon, but then below that is a category, and that's a different icon, the About Us. That actually is just a collection of pages underneath that. Now as you go, you'll see these little tags, and Draft is the first one here on what to expect. That means that only people who are logged in as administrators or publishers can see that. Not everybody can see that yet. But the other type of tag that's really important is this Members Only tag. And this means that you have to be logged in to see that page. And that's what I'm talking about when you've got a private-facing side versus a public-facing side. So, Stephen, I know as you work with customers, you hear about different use cases. What are some of the ways that what are the kind of pages that people are putting on that members-only side of things?
Well, with that, you'll have your directory for that, and definitely that's a page that churches tend to make private so that individuals' information is not out there for everyone to see. At the end of the day, the website is used for multiple things. One thing the website is used for is to draw in and attract potential new members. But for those who are already members, it's great to have that online presence of a directory that you can make private only for those individuals to see. And we'll talk about that when we get into the actual members directory. But some other pages as well that churches are using the site for is for the calendar pages, which we'll cover a little later as well. And with that, you can have your different calendars and events under them and be able to even invite individuals to certain events that you set up. And we'll take a look at that as well a little later.
Good. And some things, like the member directory, we want to ensure privacy, and so we make sure that's always private. Other things are optional, so like maybe a Bible study that is more for new members is good, but that's where we give you that choice. And to do that, all you have to do is click on the page and mark private, and that puts it as members only. And so for things like, I always get a little embarrassed when I see a website that has the Acolyte schedule listed on their public-facing site, because that's putting young children, often 12, 13, putting their names online. That makes me a little uncomfortable when there's a real easy way to just hide that and make it available only for the people who need it. So that's what that private side is. We also have some other tools here to help you delete it or to duplicate pages. We won't get into that in as much detail today. But on the right-hand side, you have what we call available menu items. These are other pages on your site that you may not have in the main navigation, but can be accessed just like any others. And so as you add pages on here, maybe you don't want to fill up your navigation, you want to streamline that to the core things. You can just add a page to this available menu and link it. So let me show you how to do that. If you go in here and click Add Page, you'll see a number of different options. And we've got 3 types of pages that we'll be talking about today. Below that are some sample pages. And so Like here is a directions page. When I click on that, we'll click Create Page, and it'll give you the option to change the name. We're just going to lock that in by hitting Enter, and then we'll save. Oops, looks like we already have a directions page. See, and that's where it'll also help you say that, you know, there's our directions page. We're just going to call this directions 2, just for examples here. So there you go, directions 2. We'll enter, and now we can go and click on that and go directly to that page. There we are, see directions 2. Now I can link to this page even though it doesn't show up in the navigation, which would make sense because we've already got a directions page there. But once you get onto that page, you can click this toolbar on the left-hand side, this Edit Page, and it opens up what we call our WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. That means that it's very familiar, and all you have to do is type in here to update your website. Now I know that some platforms require you to go into a different section to edit it, and you're kind of guessing what it'll look like, or maybe you can preview it, but it's not giving you the live site. This is actually what's going to be showing up for your visitors, and it's just as simple as typing out an email. In fact, many of these buttons are exactly what it looks like in an email. So we're going to start over here on the left-hand side where you can pick your different layout. And in fact, I'm going to go over to the home page before I do that, because I want to show how these images have been added. So when I click Edit Page, all of these open up. And you see here we've got this big section on the top and then 3 smaller sections below. That's this layout here, which gives you 1 row and then 3 columns on the next row. But we could just as easily do a single column and expand on it from there. So if I wanted to type in there, I just begin typing, and let's see, I'm going to switch this around so we can just say, you know, welcome to our home page. And from here I can modify it using any of these tools. We talked about styles before. Those are all available right here under styling. So if I click that heading 1, there is that style. If I want to do something a little bit different, like maybe, you know, bold and underline it, I've got a style set up for that. If there's something that I want to modify and I don't have the right style, I can click the Styles button here, and it'll take me right here where I can add a new one in. Now, a few other things that we can look at. We've looked at adding images in before. If I go and, oops, let me change that style to be just normal. And we'll delete that. All right, we're just going to hit Enter and then change it to this normal style. And I can hit Insert Picture here, and I've got a number of pictures already in place, and I can just upload them by dragging and dropping from my directory, or I can click the Upload button and it allows me to select that file. There you can see there's my outline and my PowerPoint for today. So I've already uploaded a number of things. We're just going to go ahead and input one that's already there, so I'll select it and click OK, and now it's been added. And I can double click on it to change the width or the height, add alt text, which is what shows up on the screen while the image is loaded. But with images or text alike, I can click on it and oops, let me go back here. There we go, and now I can add a link. And I can link this to any URL, or I can link it to a page or feed within my site. Here's all the available pages that I can link it to. I want to go to that directions too. And then I just save my changes, and now that is available on our live site. So if I want to go to that page, I can just click on it, and it'll take me there. So it's not a great looking site right now, but I am going to switch this around back to our 3-column approach. And then I'll just go through and delete the things that I've added. There we go, that looks a little bit better. A few things on the left-hand side that I want to highlight here. You've got the status where you can mark things as draft. You've got the URL, which here's home. You can change that. The other two things, the page title and the meta description, are very helpful for finding on or visitors to find your page on search engines. So the title goes here up in the top, and you can change that. I would recommend putting your church name in there as well. The meta description, while it doesn't affect what goes where you rank in search engines, it is what is previewed. And so you can see here we've put a little bit of helper text that's not showing anything else. And honestly, this probably isn't the best example of helpful text, because it just says this is the home page, but you could say, welcome to Light of Christ in Bakersville. We would love to have you join us in worship, or something along those lines. But all of that can be modified from this side. I'll go ahead and save it. And now this website is back up to date. If you're following along at home, you can go to trainingwebinars.360unite.com, and you can see that exact site live on the web. So, Stephen, is there anything you'd like to add from an edit page perspective on here?
I think you pretty much covered it. It's just important to point out that with the creation of the pages, when you can change the status from published to draft, if you're working on a page, then that page is visible to you, and it won't be live for anyone who's visiting your site. They won't even know that page is there. So once you're done with all the changes, you publish it, and now it's available for everyone to see.
That's a really good point, because while it's great for a demonstration purpose to show these changes live, it's probably not best on an actual website to be changing it midstream. So, but as you're adding new pages, setting up as draft begin is the best way to go. Well, great. I'm going to go ahead and go back up to pages, and I want to show a different type of page. We mentioned this a little bit in the intro. When you go to add a page, one of those options is what we call a feed. Now, the most common usage of a feed is a blog, but it could be used for a variety of other things from there. So what a feed is it's syndicated content, meaning that it always shows the latest content at the top, and you can have different posts. So we've got a number of feeds already in there, so I'm just going to go to one of these, the announcements. So that's already set up here. When I go to this page, you can see that it's a very different look and feel. When I go to Edit Page, I don't have the styling options that I had before with the layouts. But what I do have is the ability to put in a new post. And you can see that there's a post already in there. It gives me a title, then it gives me a place to put some additional content. I'm just going to do test for right now, and it defaults to draft. I can schedule posts out. So one common way of doing this to get ahead on your work is to begin posting future announcements of events that you don't want to release right now, but you could go and mark them and schedule them for a specific date in the future, and then your work is done and your website will be updated at that time. Go ahead and keep that as a draft. Go ahead and create that and click on this. Now when I get into edit the page, I still have a few more options there like I did before. The post title, the post description. I also get publish date. And now there's my full WYSIWYG editor that I can go in and modify it to add images, to add links, to embed videos. All of these different things here allow you to embed different types of media into not just your posts, but in your pages as well. Now you'll see here that I can also choose to allow comments. And this is really great for things like announcing that you've got a community event or maybe an internal church event and you're asking for people to bring food for it. You can say just put a comment below on what you're going to bring to this week's potluck or something like that. And people can post their comments on there. Now you can choose to moderate the comments, and if you'll do that, that'll show up under your Activities tab up here at the top. Now posts is another tab here. That's where you can manage these posts at a high level. And so these tools allow you to quickly and easily add new content to your site, to engage with users as they're interacting on these posts, and to build a sense of community. And I know a few examples that I've seen for feed types are like this, where it's news announcements, maybe sermons. Have you seen other ways that people are using feeds, Stephen?
Sometimes they use the feeds and comments towards commenting on any videos or any other content on the site to just make certain announcements and comments pertaining to that content.
Oh. So I could see, like, if the youth group just went on a mission trip or something and wanted to share a video from that, putting that in there and allowing people to provide feedback. So that's great. One thing that I've suggested, I haven't seen it used too much yet, probably because it's more on the private-facing side, is prayer requests as an option, where you can always put the latest prayer requests at the top, and people can comment on that. So there's a number of great uses. All right, let me follow my outline, make sure I'm not going too far off the path here. Well, we talked about how you could have people comment on it. One of the steps you might want to take beforehand, or you need to take beforehand, is inviting users to your site. And this gets back to that theme of activating members on your website. Well, up here on the top, there's a users section. And you can see it's pre-populated with a long list of users. But this is from Church360 members. We've got that set up there. If you have Shepherd staff, you can enter, it'll sync your members list with that, and you can see that displayed here as well. You also have the option to add people from a CSV file or in bulk. So when you go click Add People, you've got first name, last name there. You can download a template and upload that, so you could put a large list at once. I do want to clarify, there's a difference between having people displayed in this list versus having them having a role on your site. Now you'll notice over here in this third column we've got roles, and some of them are set to none, some of them are set to users. It's required that you have an email address to have a role. But when you click on the checkbox next to person, you can change the role, and these are the different options. So you can have them be a user, have them be a publisher. A user just allows them to log in. A publisher allows them to log in and edit content. So when you think about this, this may be your, giving your entire church staff the option to be a publisher, so they can update different sections of the site. A designer can have those same options, but they can also modify the theme and the styles. And then lastly, the administrator can do all of that and manage users as well. So one of the things we mentioned before, I'm going to let Stephen talk about this here. One of the real reasons or one of the key reasons, I should say, to have people log in is the member directory. So Stephen, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what the member directory is?
Excellent. So if you go to the members page here, so as I stated earlier, one of the key reasons that churches purchase Church360 Unite is it's a church community builder. So there's a way that you can have individuals go in and have this online directory. And the great thing about this is within having this directory, you can choose to have certain contact information unlisted, so it's not searchable for anyone. So as we click on the Abbott household, you see the different members there. You can click on Dave's profile, for example, and go to his contact information. And if you click on Edit, then you have the option to actually make his phone number, which we have a work there. You can have it unlisted, and so it's not searchable. It can't be viewed by regular members voting in, coming in here. And once you make different changes and you can add more content, you can just update that profile, and it's available for individuals to see.
And it's not just administrators who can do it. Dave could do it himself, right?
Absolutely, yes. Dave will be able to log in and go to his profile and make any changes that he likes.
Right, and as you connect it with the church management software, you have the household management as well. Now, if you are not using one of our church management softwares, it works as an individual directory, but you can still use that to find people. So why don't you go ahead and type in there, Stephen, the Callaway household.
And I don't have to actually type in the entire name. I can just click in a couple of characters, and whatever pulls under that in the search field will show. So we have Callaway, and I didn't have to type out the entire name.
That's great. So again, this is members only, so you have to be logged in to be able to access this page. But not everybody who's on here has to have an email address to be logged in. This is your entire church directory, which is separate from the list of people who are using your site. So we'll get the question sometimes, well, I've got a lot of older members, many of them don't have email addresses, but I still want them to show up in the directory. Well, that is just fine as long as they are up here uploaded into this user section. If they don't have a role, they'll still show up in the directory. And another security thing I like to highlight is that you have this ability to just unlist people entirely. So if somebody says, I'm not comfortable with my information being online at all, you can mark them unlisted. They also have the opportunity to opt out of the directory, which means that you can't even put them back on. If the member chooses to not participate and be shown, they can opt out entirely. Now, they do have to be signed in to do that, but it puts the control in their hands and makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. So one of the key reasons to have members logged in addition to seeing the member directory, is to be able to interact within a group setting. So we're going to go ahead and create a group, and we'll talk about what that means. So you'll notice over here on the left-hand side, anywhere where it has this little profile image next to the page, that's a group. And like we've got Board of Elders as an option. We're going to create a group for the Church Council. So I'll add a page, and there's my group option, and I'll click on that and hit Create Page. And then I can type in the name, and we're going to do Church Council. While I navigate to that page, Stephen, what kind of groups have you seen your customers, the churches you work with, creating?
Well, anywhere from VPS, and it can be a choir group as well. Also, different groups like the elders, Board of Elders, or any other type of boards that you have there at church. So, various different group pages can be created, and as we stated, you can communicate within members and even create events and invite those members to those events.
That's fantastic. Well, let's dig into some of those cool things about the group. So each group will have a home page, and within the group you can edit that page, and that gives the that same WYSIWYG editor but within the context of the group page. So sometimes we describe this as having a site within a site, because what's great about the groups is that you can set up individuals to be the leaders of these groups, and that's the only thing that they can manage on your site is the group. But they can manage the group, which means that you don't have to at the church office standpoint. And so it allows your members to really take some ownership in their communication with their group members. And like Stephen said, that groups could be boards, they could be ministries like VBS, they could just be, your church staff has a group where you just interact about church staff matters. What's really nice about this is that you get to choose your permission levels as a group leader. So I'm going to close this up and go to edit this group. And there's a lot of different options here. You've got title, the description. You can add additional pages. Now there's some standard pages, and that's where you can choose between any of the additional pages and the standard pages what the permission level is. So you may want to have your home page. We're on Church Council, so it probably doesn't make a lot of sense for the public to know about Church Council, although we could set that up. But you probably want your Unite users to at least know who's on Church Council. So you could give them access to the home page, and you could give them access to the group member directory. But maybe only the members could have access to the discussion and the events. And let's say you only wanted the group leaders to have access to the discussion. You could do that as well. And so each page has its own permission settings that allow you to really finely grain how that visibility works. Lastly, you also have the option to choose how people join the group. So you could make it a group that anyone who's logged in can join. So like maybe Tuesday morning Bible studies. You have a group for that. You've had that Bible study for years, so you're not going to have a big announcement for it, but anytime people want to join, they can. Or you may have something like this where it's Church Council, it's invitation only. So let's go ahead and update that group. I'm going to log out for a second to show what this looks like. Actually, before I do that, you'll see here that this home page is set to draft. If I don't switch that to published, it's not going to show for me. So we'll save that. There we go. That's published now. You can see I've got my group navigation on the right. We've got the Church Council homepage, discussion, events, members. If I go and log out, so I click on that profile, sign out, and actually, I don't think I even set it up into the navigation yet. You see my navigation is quite a bit smaller because I don't have everybody in there. I probably should have put it in the navigation for demo purposes. So it should be Church Council, or maybe it's just Church Council without a dash in it. Or maybe I should have remembered that. Let me jump back in there. This is how you know it's live, is that if it was recorded, we'd edit this out. All right, let me go ahead and move groups into, or Church Council into About Us. We'll hit Save Changes, close out of here, sign out. Oh, you know what? I never made the whole page accessible to the public because Church Council wouldn't be visible to the public. So let me go back in here and do that. So edit this group. Yeah, all of the pages required you to sign in. So that shows how I can't even access it even when I'm trying to. So we'll go ahead and set the home page to public, update that group. Then I'll sign out. And now Church Council is available. But when I click on that, you'll see the only thing is that home page. I don't get the director, the members, the events, or anything like that. All right, so now we'll go ahead and sign back in. It remembers my login credentials. When I sign back in and I go to Church Council, everything is visible. So discussions are something that's left to just be in groups. It's kind of like a comment board, but you have different types of discussions. So you can put discussion, prayer requests, or announcements. And this leads into notifications, which are set by the members themselves, the members of the group. So if I go to membership settings, I can choose to have it send me an email every time somebody posts a comment, or an email whenever the leader makes an announcement. Or don't send any email notifications for the group at all. I'll just log in to see when things have been updated. Now, if you step back a second and think about this, this could really reduce the number of emails that you send or that your members are sending. So if your church council president is regularly posting, don't forget to send us the minutes for this month's meeting, they could just do that here. And then people who want to get an email about it can get that email, and otherwise they don't have to. But it puts the preferences into the hands of the individuals. Another way to do that is through events. So Stephen, if you want to walk us through the process of creating a new event on the site, and then I can man the mouse, but if you want to describe it.
Sure, absolutely. So with creating new events here, we have our calendar pulled up, and if we simply at the bottom left click New Event, then we're able to title it, and we can say maybe a meeting, and then assign. You can actually assign this event to multiple calendars, but we're going to leave it on Church Council for now. You choose your location, which is optional.
We'll put it in the boardroom.
And then set up your start date and time and ending as well, or you can have it repeating. So if you click repeat, you have your choices, and it's every single through 6th week, month, or year.
So let's say every single month, make it real complicated. On the 3rd, well, we'll go to the 4th Monday. And there we go.
And then you can add a description if you like. It's optional.
This is our monthly meeting.
And then once your event is created, you can invite individuals. So if you click, I want to invite individuals, everyone in the database will show up.
That looks like we don't have anybody in the group yet.
Oh, yeah. We have to add members.
We'll go and add members in a few minutes then.
But also, when cool thing to point out is you can send reminders. And so you have all your options of when you want to send email reminders. And the great thing about this is you can even choose every single box, but the recipient can choose to turn off those notifications at any time. So you don't have to worry about bothering them.
That's awesome.
So we'll click Create Event, and our event is created.
There you go. Let's go ahead and add some members in here first, and then we'll get into. I meant to do that before.
So I want to talk about the difference between adding a member and inviting a member. If you have someone that you know definitely they're in the church council and there's no question you want to add them, you just simply select them and click Add Member. But if you want to invite an individual, you'll give them the choice to accept or decline that invitation. So you'll click Invite Member. And so they'll receive a email invitation, and they'll be able to choose to accept that invitation or not. But once again, if you add a member, then they're automatically in.
Let's go add a few more people to the mix. All right, now we'll go back. So take us through the process of changing an event. I was thinking that I scheduled that for Memorial Day. That's actually the 5th Monday of the month.
Right.
But if you wanted to change an event.
Yes, you would just simply click on that event. And if you scroll down to the bottom or edit event on the right, and then you're able to go in towards the middle and you can change the date. And let's make it, that Friday before. You can change the time if you wanted to, but if you scroll down to the bottom, let's see, then you have your options. If it's just one instance out of a reoccurring event, then it's the top update just for this event, you would choose that. But if you want to actually change all of the events, you'll choose a different option there, update all events in this schedule, or you can update all future events. But we're just going to change this one due to the holiday, and then we'll invite our individuals. If you just click Select All, everyone's going to be invited, and you'll click Update Event.
There we go, and that way they'll be notified of that change, and the calendar will be right, and then they can mark here, I'm going to this event or not. And like Stephen was saying, once you mark I'm going to an event, then you can change all of your preferences for notifications and say, I don't really need 6 notifications for this. I just need to be notified the day before. We'll update that. There we go.
And then you see a couple of options as well. You can actually add this event to your calendar. And you can invite friends, but in this case, I don't think you would invite a friend to
I haven't been to too many church council meetings that I don't want to invite friends to. All right, very good. Well, we've got that added to the calendar, so let me go back to the, so there's, you can also see a participants list of an event to see who's coming, yes, no, maybe, or no responses. As we go back to church council, we can see that exact event showing up on the calendar there. There we go. And then next month, it's going to be back on that 4th Monday. So we talked before briefly about settings and calendars. And you'll see if I go up here to calendars, I've got a whole list of calendars. And this is coming from a variety of sources. It's coming from groups that we've created. It's coming from Church360 members' calendars. Because we're connected with that database, we've got anniversary calendars like baptisms or birthdays or even wedding anniversaries. And then we've also got standard calendars, which we might create from right here. Now, a calendar is just a group of events, and every event can have multiple calendars. So if you wanted something that was like a public event that was outreach related and maybe like VBS Children's Ministry, you could post all those different calendars onto one event. Now from here you can go and choose the visibility of that event. So let's go back, and group events are managed by the group like we did before, so we can't even go and make the church council events visible. But here's like children's ministry, and you can say who can view that, nobody, users, or everyone. And so now the children's ministry events will all show up on the public calendar, which is great for outreach. So let's walk over to the public calendar. And Stephen, what kind of events are you seeing put on public calendars versus private calendars?
So anything like the children's events, VBS, also food drives or clothing drives. It's something that can be added for everyone to see, and a great way to have that community outreach.
Good, and when you get to the master calendar page, you've got this drop down on the right which has the list of calendars. Now, these are the lists of calendars that are available to me who is signed in, and I'm an administrator so I can see quite a bit. If I log out here, there we go, and I go over to news and calendar, you can see my list of calendar options has shrunk. Now there's a few things where it's still a group calendar, but it's public, so I can see that. But like church council's not on there anymore, but certainly worship is. You want your worship events showing up. So that means that this is a completely contextual calendar so that whoever is signed in gets to see what's relevant to them and not necessarily what's not relevant or irrelevant to somebody else. All right, so before I go too far, there's one last thing. I'm already past my 50 minutes. Like I said, I normally go a little over. We've got just a couple questions here and some good ones at that. So I'm going to go ahead and sign back in. The one last thing I want to show is that when you are in a group setting, and we'll go back to Church Council, and you are on members, you can actually go ahead and email your entire group from here. And this is the group leader that can do this. So if you don't want to just make announcements, but you do want to email everybody, it'll open up your default email client and put this rather complicated email address that you don't have to think about. And this will send an individual email to each one of the members of your church council, of your group. Now, you can also do this as an administrator by going up into users and going to mailing lists. And mailing lists allows you to create these contact lists based on users and groups and other mailing lists. So we can go here and do, all church, create mailing list, and when you go in here, you can just start adding in, and maybe we should say all members versus everyone, which is all people. And you can just add whoever you want in there and go quickly. You could also go down and just add a group. So where's our church council group? There you go. So maybe you want to have like all boards and have a different list for them. You could also just add in your other email lists here and save that. And now when you go and select it and click email, you can now email everybody in there. And it's just sending it to one address, which then relays it from our servers to their inboxes. It's a real powerful tool so that you don't have to manage your own lists address by address, but you can do it at a global level from here. So that was one of the last things that really talks about engaging members with it. Before we go into question and answers, and now would be a great time if you have other questions, I'm going to jump back up here for anybody who does need to be leaving in the next few minutes. And let's see. There we go. So there's our contact information again before we go, in case you need to jot that down. And I'm going to take a quick look. Looks like we've got a couple questions in the queue right now. We'll get into that in just a second. One of them I should have already answered. I forgot about that. So there's our contact information. If you are not a Unite customer right now and would like to start a free trial, you could do that at 360unite.com. That's a free 30-day trial. It gives you access to all the tools within Unite, lets you really try it out. Within that 30 days, you could build a really great website because it doesn't take that long. I do also want to highlight another webinar that I'll be leading tomorrow called Roadmap to an Effective Church Office with Church360 members. We've mentioned that multiple times. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can sign up at 360members.com/training. That's tomorrow at the same time and almost the same channel. So but let's get into our question and answers right now. And The first one we have on here is from Delyn, and Delyn, also I forgot to thank you before for confirming that the audio is good. So thank you for doing that. But as we get into the question, you ask, how do you add a PDF file? Well, that's a really great question. It's a little bit hidden. Let me go back into our church council group, and maybe this is something where you're wanting to put the minutes on there. Well, you would go to Edit Page, and just put in last month's minutes and type in some text. You could also do it based on an image as well, and you select that, and you go here to link, and you'd say link to a file that users can download. And then you just upload the PDF here, and then people can download it. So that goes into that file sharing we mentioned before, where you can just upload it in here, and then users who have the right permissions, because remember we're on a group page, so there's different permissions on it, can download that accordingly. All right, so that is that question. Great question, Dylan. Thank you for asking that. And then Nancy's asking the question, can the Church360 calendar be tied to the Shepherd staff calendar that we have populated? And that's a good question, and there's a few different answers to that. The initial question is that no, Unite cannot link to the calendar in Shepherd staff, because the process that Shepherd staff uses for calendars is not the same as you would for like your Outlook or Gmail or Unite, in that each event has its own instance. In Shepherd staff, there's two different calendars. There's the listing of batches, like attendance or offering batches that are tied to events, or within a scheduler where they are all listed out there. Now, we have built a conversion process from Shepherd staff to Church360 members that is a one-time conversion. And so if you are moving to Unite, we can import that one-time conversion of calendars, and then you can manage your church calendar from Unite. And so we have that. That's a little bit complicated, but it gets the job done. And then you can still continue to use your attendance and offering batches like you would in Shepherd staff, while switching over from Scheduler as your church calendar to Unite. So there's a couple options there. As we are continually updating Shepherd staff, we're looking at changing the way that it does events to match Unite. It's a little bit more intuitive, and I think it's a little bit more common in today's technology to do calendars in the way that Unite does it. So yeah, I saw your response. Thank you very much. I'm glad that worked out well for you. So that was the last question we had. If you've got it, go ahead and enter it in. Stephen, is there anything you can think of that I missed? I know I did a lot of the talking today, but I appreciate your input, and I appreciate you being here to add the voice of the customer to this too. So anything that I'm missing here?
I think we pretty much covered it all, but to wrap everything up, Church360 Unite is an excellent tool. Once again, it's your church community builder, and we did focus on one of the various ways that churches use this product. And if you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or Peter. I'm going to bring up our contact information again.
Slowly getting there. There we go.
There we go. And so with me, I'm here Central Standard Time, 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. Don't hesitate to give me a call or shoot me an email, and we can go from there. I also conduct, once again, live demos. So if you want to take another look and have a one-on-one conversation with me, we can definitely set that up, and you can actually make that request right on our website.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Stephen, you are the software consultant for kind of our Western territory.
Yes.
And there's others on your team too that can help if you're not around. So that's
absolutely
great. Good. Well, we do have a couple more questions in here, which is fantastic. I always like getting questions. Jim is asking, if you're holding a small group study with multiple days and times, but all are part of the same study, would you have to create multiple events, or could they be combined as one with multiple days and times? And Jim, I'd say that's actually up to you. I could see it where you'd have one group for the entire study, and then you can set up a reoccurring event that has those multiple days and times in it. Let me switch back over to Unite. So if you were adding a new event and you were doing a it repeats. You can actually have, like if you say every single week on Monday or Tuesday at those different times. If you, I would suggest if you go into months, you can actually add different ones in here too. So if it's a monthly event, you could say like the first Tuesday and the 13th, the second Wednesday or something like that. I would think it would probably be just as easy to set up a series for each of the groups that meets off, and then that way if one event needs to change, or like a series of that event, let's say the group that normally meets on Tuesday has switched their meetings to Wednesday, might be a little bit easier to manage, but you could make either way work. And you could also choose to have one group for the Bible study or separate groups for each instance of the study, depending on what the needs are for communication and notification and such. So then the last question of the day, because we've now hit the 1 hour mark. You're welcome, Jim. I just saw your response there. Nancy, one last question. We already have a website. What is the procedure to change it to you, and how long would porting the domain take? So Stephen, why don't you handle that one? If somebody's moving over, how long does that normally take, and then how about moving the domain over?
Well, we do have specific directions on how to get in contact with your current company host for your web domain name. So you will follow those directions that we send over, and you will contact one of the sales reps here to actually purchase Church360 Unite, and it's a very simple process with that. And as far as the time goes, you would look to follow those directions with the changing over your domain name, and we'll get that set up. It's not really a long time.
Usually depends on how responsive that domain provider is,
yes,
right?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Definitely.
So how long do you see it taking to new customers setting up a new site from kind of beginning to end?
Oh, we pretty much set up during this hour here, so it's very simple to do. And what's great about all of our Church360 products is our team of techs. They're here to assist you, and even when you purchase the software, you're trained one-on-one by an onboarding specialist, so you can actually get your site up and running within the day that you purchase. So it's very simple to do.
Yep, basically it's up to how detailed you want it to be, but we're here to help. Well, that is all for us today. I do thank you all for attending. Thank you again, Stephen, for joining me.
Oh, happy to be here.
Great, and I do encourage everybody, if you'd like to learn more, and if you liked hearing me talk so much today, you want to hear me talk again tomorrow, come back at 10 o'clock. You can register at 360members.com/training. So thank you again, and have a great day.